Hi friends, this is Chris and welcome to the third in the series of videos for the Dalmuir Tai Chi Group on training tips for Tai Chi. As per usual, what we're going to do the video in two parts. The first part is for the 24-step group who are learning 24-step Tai Chi form, and the second part is for the sword and fan people. Now this video, what we're going to do for the 24-step Tai Chi people is looking again at the preparation stance, the commencing stance or commencing posture. And the reason why I want to just explore this very briefly is it actually highlights what some Tai Chi instructors call a problem in Tai Chi, which is being what they call double weighted. So I'm going to explain what double weighted means, but also explain why it isn't such a big problem as people often make out it to be, but also how it actually helps us understand the yin-yang separation in movement in Tai Chi. And for part two with the sword and fan people, I'm going to show you two postures from the sword form from Chen style Tai Chi that actually build upon what we were doing in the last video with the dynamic movement of the hips and the pelvis, or the qua as the Chinese call it, and how we emit power, generate power in these two particular postures. And I picked these two postures because they also appear in the fan form as well. So there's a crossover between the two forms. Now they might not appear in the form that you've learned, but it's actually, don't worry about it, it's just using these postures to demonstrate a power principle in Tai Chi. As always, I would always recommend you do a warm-up first of all, and you can go to my channel on YouTube, Hermitage Tai Chi, and follow the warm-up video on my YouTube channel. Okay, so let's get started. Okay then friends, now the first part of the video we're going to look at the commencing posture, posture number one from the 24-step form. Commencing posture, Qi Shu in Chinese. Now the reason I wanted to explore this posture is it sometimes causes a wee bit of confusion amongst Tai Chi people. So the posture we were doing last week, postures 13 and 15, which were the kicking postures, were physically demanding, physically difficult to do. But I think the first posture, commencing posture, sometimes people misunderstand it and get it wrong, and often refer to a phrase that's common in Tai Chi called being double weighted, and not really understanding what this means. A lot of Tai Chi teachers believe that being double weighted is a big mistake, but actually I'm going to explain what it means, and sometimes it's actually quite helpful to be double weighted. Okay, so first of all, let's do the commencing posture, and it's an important posture as well for me because I believe it's a bridging, linking posture between standing post and the 24-step form. So we do our preparation first of all, and then we step to the left, feet shoulder width apart, toes pointing forward, knees in line with the toes. The knees bent, so we've got a wee bit of a spring in the step. Okay, now we're relaxing the waist. We're tucking the pelvis forward, not forcing it forward. We're tucking it forward so it's nice and relaxed. This helps to lower the body a wee bit, helps to lower the center of gravity, and helps to relax these central muscles in the tummy area. The muscles that link the lower spine with the leg bones. Now when we do this, what it does in a sense is puts us in touch with the center of the body, especially the abdomen, the dantian. We keep the back straight, the head up and the chin back, and we relax the shoulders, and we keep a shape to our hands. And we breathe. We're breathing, focusing on our posture, being aware of where the center of gravity is on our feet. So we want our center of gravity, we want the weight of the body on the center of the soles of our feet, the Yongchuan point. And we're just relaxing. And we breathe in, and the arms float up as if they were filled with air. And as we breathe out, we let the elbows draw the arms down and we bend the knees. You don't have to bend them too deeply. The hands come down, bending the wrists so the fingers point forward. It's called settling the wrists, okay? So we'll do that again. Breathing in, raising the arms. Breathing out, letting the elbows draw the arms down. The elbows sink with the knees. And we settle the wrists. Breathing out as we come down. And we'll do that again. Breathing in. And breathing out as we sink down. Okay, now errors to watch for. When people do this posture, sometimes what they'll do, especially if they have difficulty with the knees, will sometimes do this. They'll lean backwards, usually because there's not much strength in the knees. So again, if you have difficulty with the knees, what to do is just don't go down too deeply. Just only go down as far as is comfortable. The other classic error is sticking the bum out. Again, this is usually because there isn't sufficient strength in the knees. So again, if you do have problems with the knees, just don't go down too deeply. Just to bend the knees, keeping the back straight and the head up. And also as well, the chin back towards the spine and the head up. Usually people, when they start the form, tend to look at the feet. But in fact, you want to try and get into the habit of not doing that. And also settling the wrists. And this is an important movement in Tai Chi and also in Qigong, because when you do this, what you do actually is you stimulate the energy lines that run from the fingertips up the arms and to the major organs. Now, being double weighted. A lot of people think this is a big mistake, a big error in Tai Chi, and it usually means, people usually think it means, is that the weight of the body is equally distributed between the 2 feet. But clearly that can't be the case, because the commencing posture, posture number 1, and posture number 24, the closing posture, the weight has to be on both feet. And again, even with the bow stance, where 70% of the weight is on the front foot and 30% of the weight on the back foot, this can also mean being double weighted, for the simple reason is the posture is not dynamic. The weight and the movement are not connected. So again, double weighted doesn't mean which leg has the most amount of weight of the body. What double weighted means is which leg is the most dynamic. And again, this refers to the yin-yang principle of Tai Chi. You have a dynamic leg, the yang leg, and you have an empty leg, the yin leg, the insubstantial leg, which is the yin leg, and the substantial leg, which is the yang leg. So one leg is more dynamic than the other leg. So in the beginning, when we do commencing posture, we're starting off nice and relaxed, and then we go to hold the ball forward at the waist, all the way on the right leg, and that becomes then the yang leg, the dynamic leg, and then we can step to our left and do parting the wild horse's mane. So again, being double weighted doesn't mean which leg has the most weight on it. Being double weighted means that the posture, the stance, is static, it's stagnant, it's not moving. So in Tai Chi, it's the opposite of double weighted, means to flow. And that's all about one leg being dynamic, shifting, and then the other leg becoming dynamic. Shifting between dynamic and non-dynamic, substantial and non-substantial. And the trick here is the movement of the hip joints. Now, the reason I picked up on this point is I was looking at some videos on YouTube today where some Tai Chi teachers were showing you the martial applications of the commencing posture. But I actually think the commencing posture really is not about martial application. I think the commencing posture is about settling the energy. It's about breathing in, relaxing, and finding your root. Finding the the abdomen, getting a feel for the abdomen as you relax. And when you can get that feeling on both feet, then you shift to the dynamic leg and step, and then the form begins and you shift, you keep moving. But double weighted actually is not a bad thing when you want to do that at the beginning, because you want to get that feeling of fullness on both feet. Once you've got that feeling of fullness and you're nice and relaxed in the abdomen, then you shift it to the dynamic leg and then away you go. Okay, and I'll highlight that perhaps a bit more interestingly with the help of my lockdown training carpet. Okay, my training partner for the lockdown. Now, as you can see, wooden sticks are meant to represent his arms or her arms, and the carpet roll represents the body. And you see there's a red dot or red circle to represent the centre of mass on my training partner here. Now, I don't have a red dot, but I want you to imagine I have one as well. And I was looking at a video on YouTube today where the Tai Chi instructor was trying to show the applications of commencing posture. And it was basically a parrying movement where somebody's coming towards you and going to push you, and you bring your arms up and down. And it's pressing down on the arms, pushing down on the arms. When the person pushes forward and you press down on the arms, they lose their balance and go flying over. There is a problem with this, and the reason why I've got a red dot here, and I want you to imagine a red dot here, it's because there's a line of energy. It's this, my partner's coming towards me. If I do that application and he's coming towards me and he loses his balance, he's going to come straight into me and he's going to knock me over. So this only works if I take a step back and then pull him forward or her forward. But that doesn't appear in the form. So again, I actually think that when you're doing commencing posture, it's really just to settle the energy. It's to get a feel of the abdomen. It's when you transit to holding the ball, when you shift to then holding the ball, then it starts, then the martial applications become prominent. So again, you're not doing that directly in line with the person's line of energy as it comes towards you, or else you'll be doing this. And that doesn't work because he's just going to go, or she's just going to go into you again. You have to move and you have to shift. I have to get my centre out of the way of my partner's centre. So again, you have to move, and the 45-degree angle then becomes important. So as his energy comes towards me, I shift, the weight is on my right leg, this is folded, then I can step, make contact, and then we do parting the wild horse's mane. So there has to be movement, and that in a sense is the opposite of being double weighted, is fluid movement. And then to constantly move and keep moving. So at the beginning, when you're doing commencing posture, what you're really focusing on, breathing, relaxing, settling the energy, and you're trying in your body awareness to locate that feeling of fullness in the abdomen. It does take practice, does take relaxation, does take lots of standing post practice to get that feeling. But once you've got that feeling in the abdomen, then it moves from one leg to the other leg, and it's the qua, it's the gearbox that's doing this. And you have constant movement. Okay, now on to part 2. Okay then friends, and now part 2 for the sword and the fan people. And last week I was showing you the rainbow dance exercise that helps increase strength and flexibility in the hip joints and also the knees and also the legs. But also this exercise actually characterizes what is a key dynamic power movement in Tai Chi, the movement of the hips and the qua, as the Chinese call it, in relation to the ground and how it connects with the arms as well. Having a firm lower base, the yin part of the body, and having a soft upper part of the body to allow energy to flow more effectively and efficiently when we're doing Tai Chi. Now what I'm going to show you is actually two postures from the sword form, and again apologies to the fan people. What I'm going to show you is the Chen style movement from Chen style Tai Chi, and I know you're not doing that, but these two particular postures are actually good for highlighting this particular dynamic movement. And the reason I don't have a fan with me is because in Chen style Tai Chi the fan form is very similar to the sword form, because in Chen style Tai Chi the fan is considered a weapon. So if you're doing Chen style Tai Chi, what you tend to do is either you choose one or the other. You can do both if you want to, but the fan form is so similar to the sword form that people just tend to do one or the other, and I chose to do the sword form. But I promise I will get a fan, and we'll do some fan stuff as well from Chen style Tai Chi. Now the two postures I'm going to show you are called the Green Dragon Emerges from Water and Plucking the North Star. And I picked these two because they represent the yin-yang movement of the hip joints in emitting power. So first of all, here's a quick warm-up, and as a reminder I'm going to show you the rainbow dance exercise again. So feet shoulder width apart, toes pointing slightly outwards, knees bent, tucking the pelvis forward and relaxing. And the weight is centered between the 2 feet as we start off. Extend the left arm, looking at the left hand, palm up, right hand above the head. Now I'm going to shift my weight to the left leg. I do this by folding the left hip, not letting that left knee collapse. Bring the left hand up over my head and the right hand extends. Shifting now to the right, again not letting the knees collapse, folding up the hips, and we shift from side to side. Now this movement of the hip joint is called closing the qua. Closing the qua. You won't be surprised to hear that there is an opposite, and it's called opening the qua. And opening the qua is when you stretch the joint, you stretch the hip joint, the knee goes out and the joint comes forward. And that's opening the qua. So I'm going to show you this in the posture of the Green Dragon Emerges from Water, in particular for the sword people. I have with me my practice sword, my wooden practice sword. This is a Jan, which means straight sword, wooden practice sword. What I'm going to do, again in Chen style Tai Chi, we make the sword fingers with the left hand. The sword is almost always in the right hand. The weight is on the right foot, and I'm going to step, elbow is in, I'm going to step forward with the left foot. Now as my weight shifts forward into a bow stance, bring the left hand up, I'm going to bring the right hand out so the blade is horizontal. But what I'm doing in this rear hip is I'm going from closing to opening. Now what I'm trying not to do is let that knee collapse inwards. Not just the back knee, but also the front knee. The front knee has to be in line with the left foot, and the right knee has to be going that direction, in line with the right toes. Feet grounded, feet flat on the floor, but as I push off that back foot, that right hip joint goes from the closed position to open. The joint stretches. Now we do this nice and gently. If you're not used to doing this hip type of movement, it can feel sore when you start off. you take it nice and slow. So that rear leg is the dynamic leg, the yang leg. That front leg is the yin leg, it's empty. All the power is coming from the back leg. Now once you can get this movement nailed, for want of a better phrase, you can give it a wee bit of oomph, and that gives power to the movement. Okay, so I'll just change the angle for this slightly. So we're using the metal sword. Again, closed rear quad. What I'm going to do is push off that back foot, stretch open the rear quad, and you see that the blade wobbles a wee bit. Now that wobbling of the blade basically reflects the power that's coming up from the ground, pushing off the ground, but that hip stretching forward, the energy coming up my back, through the shoulders and emitting through the blade. And you see the end of the blade wobble slightly. That's how you emit power in that particular opening and closing movement of the rear quad. Okay, and I'm going to show you a different way now. And this movement is called, this posture is called Plucking the North Star. So similar to the rainbow dance, we start off by just folding that left hip joint. We come back, we push off that left foot, and we stretch that left hip joint. And what we do again is we don't let that back knee come inwards, and we don't let that front knee come inwards. And this is quite difficult to do at the beginning, not letting that other knee fold inwards. You've got to keep that in line with the toes. So you go from here, fold left quad, and stretch. Okay, this is called Plucking the North Star. So you go from here, folding that left hip joint, pushing off that left foot, stretching that left hip joint. This is called Plucking the North Star. And your upper body is relaxed. We're tucking the pelvis forward. And again, if you can get that movement, you can nail it. You can add a wee bit of oomph, a wee bit of power, generate a wee bit of power to the movement. And again, you get a slight wobble in the blade when you do that. And again, that wobbling effect, sometimes referred to as fajin, or emitting energy, is that power coming up from the ground, through the quad, through the back and the arms, shoulders, to the hands, and to the end of the blade. Now, if you're not used to doing that hip movement of closing the quad and stretching the quad, don't try and do it quickly first of all, because it will feel really sore. Just relax. Just do the rainbow dance exercise until it feels comfortable. If you're not used to doing this exercise, it does feel sore first of all. But it's the key dynamic movement in Tai Chi. You might not have been taught this in the form that you're doing. And you might think, well, why do I need to know this anyway, Chris? I'm not going to be running anybody through with a sword. Okay, but it's actually this movement, connection with the ground. It's actually what in Chen style we call rotating Dantian. Feeling the Dantian, feeling a fullness here. Actually It's actually part of what's called silk reeling. It's actually what gives Tai Chi a beneficial health and therapeutic effect. Increases strength in the body. Chinese say increases energy, qi, in the body, cultivates energy in the body. It's all about the center. And if you can do this, and I know it's clear martial application, from a health point of view as well, it's actually a very good exercise to do. Certainly very good for the hips. It will stretch the hips, especially the big tendons you have, ligaments you have in the thighs as well. But as always, take it nice and slow, take it nice and easy, and nice and gentle. Now for the fan people, as I said, I'm sorry I don't have a fan. But in fact, in the Chen style fan routine, there is a same movement in relation to Green Dragon emerges from water. You don't do the sword hand because you're not doing a sword. This is a poor replacement for the fan, but it's the same again, that thrusting movement. So again, in Chen style Tai Chi, the fan is a weapon. It's a thrusting movement, and this movement appears in the fan form in Chen style Tai Chi. And also the same with this movement. This also appears in the fan form as well. Although when you extend the arm in that particular movement, you open the fan. The fan opens when you extend the arm. You don't, in this movement it's like a stabbing movement, but in this movement it's more open the fan as a form of distraction. Okay. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll have to do some Chen sword and Chen fan at some point. But until I see you the next time, I hope you enjoyed the video. Okay then friends, as always we finish off with our traditional Chinese salutation. Right hand makes the sun, left hand makes the moon. How we bow to each other, out of respect of each other's dignity, integrity and equality. And until next time.